What's up, guys? Today your boy Quentin Particles is back with the top 5 holy weapon builds in Elden Ring. This is for PvE only. Holy weapon builds means I have the top 5 holy weapons in my opinion and a build for them. I will show the talismans, buffs, and stats I use for each of them. I will not be using seals or incantations with these builds besides for buffs. With that being said, let's get into it. At number 5 is Marika's Hammer. Marika's Hammer is an awesome weapon that scales well with strength and faith. Its Ash of War is pretty cool. You can launch enemies into the air. Sometimes it misses though, because it is hard to aim a little. It does pretty decent damage. The poise damage isn't bad either because it's a hammer. The hammer attacks are also quite fast. Overall, it's a solid, fun choice. Now let's jump into the stats. I have 50 Vigor, the same as all of the other builds on this list. I have 16 Mind to use the Ash a few times, 25 Endurance for stamina and equip load, 66 Strength and 25 Dexterity for physical scaling, and 31 Faith for buffs and holy damage scaling. The talismans I am using are Alexander's Shard, Ritual Sword Talisman, Ritual Shield Talisman, and Holy Scorpion Charm. I have Golden Vow and Flame grant me strength for my buffs. In my physic I have the Holy Tear and Opaline Hard Tear. As I mentioned in the introduction, I am not using any incantations other than buffs for these builds. I would recommend you to use some if you are making this build for yourself because some ranged attacks can come in handy. The Clawmark Seal is great for this build. I messed around with the stats in the respec menu a little bit, and I got the most damage out of this spread. Obviously, going all into damage stats instead of health, endurance and mind would give me more damage, but you know what I mean. Next is the Halo Scythe. This weapon is awesome because it's a Reaper, which means it has a good moveset, range and bleed damage, and the Ash of War can be spammed for days. It does great damage from a distance. The overall damage is pretty nice. It's a great choice for Dex Faith builds. Dual wielding them is also good. Let's get into the stats. I have 50 Vigor, 20 Mind, 25 Endurance, 14 Strength, 74 Dexterity, and 30 Faith. For Mind and Faith, it could go either way. I'm not 100% sure what the Ash of War scales with. More Mind would let you use it more, but more Faith will give you more base damage, and possibly more Ash of War damage. The talismans I'm using are Holy Scorpion Charm, Millicent's Prosthesis, because we will spam the weapon skill, Alexander's Shard, and Ritual Sword Talisman. You can stay back and snipe enemies from afar with this weapon. To buff this build, I have Golden Vow and Flame grant me strength. And I have the Holy Tear and Opaline Hard Tear. At number 3 is the Sacred Relic Sword. This sword is acquired from the remembrance of the final boss, Radagon and Elden Beast, same as Marika's Hammer. Believe it or not, the Sacred Relic Sword is useful for more than just farming runes. The skill is incredibly powerful for slaying bosses, not just Albinaurics. It travels super far, and does loads of damage. The moveset is not bad, and the damage is good too. My talismans are Holy Scorpion Charm, Alexander's Shard, Ritual Sword Talisman, and Ritual Shield Talisman. My stats are the same as the Halo Scythe. 50 Vigor, 20 Mind, 25 Endurance, 14 Strength, 74 Dexterity, and 30 Faith. You could have 25 Faith and 25 Mind instead if you want. As usual, I have Golden Vow and FGMs, and the Holy Tear and Defense Tear. This build is great for duo bosses and mobs of enemies. Before we get to number 2, make sure to like and subscribe for more Elden Ring and gaming content. I will be making videos about some more fun Elden Ring builds. Hit the notification bell to stay tuned for that. Number 2 is the Envoy's Longhorn. The Envoy's Longhorn is super powerful. It shoots a bunch of bubbles that do lots of damage. It can even melt the Elden Beast, who has 80% holy resistance. Great hammers also have high stance damage and good movesets. Let's get into the stats. I have 50 Vigor, 16 Mind, 2005 Endurance, 46 Strength, 13 Dexterity, and 63 Faith. My talismans are Alexander's Shard, Holy Scorpion Charm, Dragon Crest, Great Shield, and Ritual Shield Talisman. My buffs, as usual, are Golden Vow, FGMs, Holy Tear and Defense Tear. The Envoy's Longhorn skill can shred bosses and enemies easily even if they are resistant to holy damage. The regular light and heavy attacks do great damage as well. Finally, Number 1 is Ordovis's Greatsword. Ordovis's Greatsword can deal crazy amounts of damage. The stance damage on the Ash of War is super good too. The Greatsword moveset is pretty good also. It scales really well with strength and decently with faith. The total damage and range are good. In the Physic Flask I have the Holy Shrouding Cracked Tear for more holy damage, and the Stone Barb Cracked Tear for even more poise damage. I have 50 Vigor on this build. We have 20 Mind for plenty of casts of Ordovis's Vortex. I've got 25 Endurance, 80 Strength, 13 Dexterity, and 25 Faith. This build does great damage. It can break enemies' stances in just a few charged skills. My talismans are Alexander's Shard, Godfrey Icon, Holy Scorpion Charm, and Ritual Shield Talisman. Thanks for watching the video, guys. If you made it this far, leave a like and subscribe for more Elden Ring content. I will have some new builds coming soon.